Hey friends, happy Sunday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these videos every Sunday to hopefully give you some new meal ideas and to motivate you to cook more for your family. We tried some really delicious recipes this week, and I'm really excited to share them with you because they were so good and I cannot wait to make them again. So any recipes that I mention will be linked in the description box down below. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night started out with a new recipe. I had this Savoy's hickory smoked sausage and it had green onion in it and I really wanted to use it. And I saw this one pot cheesy sausage and rice recipe on TikTok from Mississippi Queen, and when I saw it I knew that I wanted to make it, and I knew that I wanted to use this green onion sausage in it. So I started off by just browning up that sausage on both sides, getting it nice and crispy, and then when it was done, I removed it from the pan and left like all that grease behind. And then to that grease, I added one small onion that I had chopped up and one red pepper. I did adjust this a little bit from her original recipe. She used 2 different color peppers and I halved her recipe, and so I just used 1 color pepper, so I didn't have to use like half of each pepper. So I just used the red and then 1 really small onion, and I just let that cook down till it started to get tender. And then once it started to get tender, I added in a big spoonful of some minced garlic as well as some Tony's Creole seasoning. And then I went in with my 1.5 cups of minute rice, 1.5 cups of chicken broth, or I did water and the knorr chicken bouillon, and then a can of cream of chicken, and I added my sausage back in, and I gave that all a really good stir. And then I used a total of 8 ounces of cheese, but I only added half in now, and I stirred that around, and then I saved the other half for later. And then I covered it and cooked it on medium low for about 10 minutes. And then after the 10 minutes, I just turned off the heat, topped it with the cheese, and let it sit for another 10 minutes so that cheese could get nice and melty. This was delicious, and I think it was like everybody's favorite for the week. I definitely should have just stuck with the original recipe and not cut it in half, because we would have loved to have a lot of leftovers of this. There was only enough for my husband Andy to take to work the next day, so we were kind of disappointed that there wasn't more for everyone else. I will have her video, her TikTok, linked down below. I'm also going to have like the measurements that I use listed out down below. And if you have TikTok and you're not already following her, please go follow her. I get so many good recipe ideas from her. So yeah, go check her out. I love her page. So here's what that looked like all plated up. I didn't serve this with anything. You could do like a salad or something on the side if you want, but this was super filling and so delicious. Saturday night, we had some green chili chicken enchiladas. If you saw a little bit back, I had a Kroger haul where I picked up this enchilada sauce on markdown. So I knew I wanted to make some green enchiladas because that's something I haven't made in a really long time. So I took some cooked chicken breast and shredded it up in my KitchenAid, and then to that I added some sour cream, some Monterey Jack cheese, and a can of diced green chilies, and just mix that all together for my filling mixture. It is a little bit different than the recipe that I followed. She didn't have you mix the sour cream in. She wanted you to just put that on the tortilla later, but I was like, why not just mix it in? It makes my life easier. And for my chicken, I had cooked some chicken breast in the air fryer with some adobo and some Goya complete seasoning, so I didn't really need to add any more seasoning. So now to assemble my enchiladas, I put a little bit of that warmed enchilada sauce in the bottom of my casserole dish, and then I took my corn tortillas and dipped them in the enchilada sauce. This is something I've never done, but they turned out really, really good. So I dipped them and just put some of that filling mixture on there, rolled them up, put them in the casserole dish, and just repeated that until I was out of filling. I thought that I would only have enough to fill this small pan because that's what the recipe said. Otherwise, I would have used my 9x13. I ended up having to get out a second pan, so I should have just used my 9x13. So if you're wondering with this recipe, use the bigger pan. It'll be okay. So then I just poured over the remaining enchilada sauce all over the enchiladas, topped with the remaining Monterey Jack cheese, and then put these in the oven on 350 for about 20 minutes, and then at the end I wanted them a little bit more browned on top, so I ended up broiling them for about 2 minutes. And we just served these with some refried beans on the side. I heated up a can of refried beans, topped those with some cheddar cheese, and then we had some pico and lettuce that we could top our enchiladas with. I always like to do that. Nobody else really does. Andy did go and add some to his plate once he came in the kitchen. I didn't know what he wanted though, so I just left it plain for him. Sunday night was our anniversary, so I made some shrimp and scallops for dinner. I've showed this a couple times, but I thought I'd show it again because it's really quick and easy. So I like to get my scallops from Good Chop. You get the jumbo scallops, and they're all pretty much a good size. When I buy them other places, they're all not a good size. Sometimes you end up with like little tiny ones in there. So I prefer to get them from Good Chop, which I do have a link listed out down below for y'all if you are interested. So I just take my scallops, I dry them off really well with a paper towel, and then I season both sides with salt and pepper, and that's it. And then for my steak, we are trying the New York strip steak from Good Chop this time. We've had their filet mignon and their ribeye, and everything has been good. The ribeye isn't our favorite cut of steak, but it's good. Filet mignon is obviously always good. And this was like right between the two. Not as good as the filet mignon, but definitely better than the ribeye. So I did the same thing with that, just seasoned it on both sides with some salt and pepper. And then when it comes time to cook it, I heat my large cast iron skillet over a medium heat, and then I get some olive oil and butter in there, and then I get my steaks in there, and I let them cook on either side for about 4 minutes. That's what we prefer for our preferred doneness, but you're just going to want to check the temp and cook it to your preferred doneness. When the steaks are done, I like to remove them from the pan to a plate and then cover them with some foil and let them rest for about 5 minutes before slicing. So while those are resting, it's perfect time for me to cook my scallops. I take my smaller cast iron pan that I had heating up over medium heat and add some olive oil to that. And then I add in my scallops in a nice single layer, and I let them cook on the one side for 2 minutes. And then after the 2 minutes, I will flip them over and let them cook for 1 more minute with a little bit of butter. And here are our plates. We just had some salad to go with this, and then I also made a box of some Kraft macaroni and cheese so the kids could have that as well, since they don't eat the scallops, except for Lily. Lily did like the scallops, so she got one. Monday night this week is our crock pot meal. The kids went to martial arts on Monday this week instead of Thursday, since they were going to be with Andy's grandmother on Thursday. So I decided to make things really easy and do some pulled pork baked potatoes. So we are making the potatoes in the crock pot. All I did was wash the potatoes, coat them with some olive oil, sprinkle them with some salt, and then wrap them in some foil, and then stick them in the crock pot. And then these cooked on low for 6 to 8 hours. Mine were perfect after 7 hours. So when we came home from karate, all we had to do was heat up our pulled pork, because I had leftover pulled pork in the freezer that I just pulled out and let thaw in the fridge. So I warmed that up, and then we just assembled our barbecue pulled pork baked potatoes. We had some cheese, some barbecue sauce. I had some green onion on mine, some sour cream, and then these like crispy jalapeno things. But most of the family just eats like meat, barbecue sauce, and cheese. We put some butter and some salt and pepper on our baked potatoes. The potatoes turned out really good in the crock pot. I would definitely do this again. Tuesday night we tried a new recipe called bacon ranch garlic parmesan pasta. I started off by cooking up 1 pound of bacon. I like to cut it with my kitchen scissors, so I just cut it into pieces and then let that brown. Original recipe only called for 6 slices of bacon, but I wanted to make it a little bit more meaty, so I used the whole pound of bacon. If you saw my Kroger haul a while back, I got a lot of bacon on clearance, so I'm trying to find different ways to use it up. So this recipe was one of the ways that I found, and it was really good. So I just got my bacon nice and crisped up, and then once it was done, I removed it from the pan, as well as removing like pretty much all of the grease. And then I added a little bit of olive oil and butter to the skillet and some garlic. I'm using the jarred minced garlic, so I didn't really let it cook for too long because I didn't want to burn it. So I just added it in there and let it cook for like 20 seconds. And then I added in some chicken broth. I did heavy cream. The recipe wanted you to use milk, but I had some heavy cream that I wanted to use up, so I used that. And my spaghetti and some pepper. For the spaghetti, you're using 8 ounces of spaghetti, and I broke mine in half so that it would fit in my pot better. And then I just brought this to a boil, and I made sure to stir it often so my noodles didn't stick together or like stick to the bottom of the pan. And once it came to a boil, I reduced the heat and let it simmer until my pasta was cooked through. For me, this took about 7 minutes, and again, I just stirred it often so they wouldn't like all stick together. Once the pasta was done, I stirred in a 1/4 cup of sour cream, some Parmesan cheese, about a tablespoon of ranch seasoning mix, and then all of my cooked bacon, and this was done and ready to serve. We just served this with some garlic bread that I actually burnt. I wasn't paying close attention to it in the air fryer, and so I burnt it a little bit, but I like scraped off all the burntness because it was the last of the garlic bread that we had and everybody wanted it, so it was fine. But yeah, I do still burn stuff. I am human and make mistakes, but it was still fine. And then we also had some salad with this too. This was delicious, and I would definitely make it again. I think everybody loved it, and it was really good as leftovers too. Wednesday night we had some chicken burrito bowls. So in here I have some chicken that I wanted to get marinated. So I'm just seasoning both sides of this chicken. These are boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Seasoning them with some chili powder, some dried cilantro, some cumin, oregano, basil, garlic powder, thyme, and cayenne pepper. And I did that on both sides. And then in my blender, I had some chipotle peppers and adobo sauce. These were from another recipe I made like a while back, and I actually froze. So I thawed those out, and then I put them in the blender just to blend them all up. And then I poured that over the chicken and mixed it all together. And then I just let that marinate for a couple of hours in the fridge. Then when I was ready to cook it, I got it on my air fryer basket and put these in there on 375 for about 22 minutes, flipping halfway through. And then when they were done, I just covered them with some foil and let them rest for about 5 minutes before chopping up. So for our burrito bowls, we of course had our chicken, we had some beans. I was actually out of black beans. Usually I would do black beans, but these were just some chili beans that I added some Goya complete seasoning to, and some adobo. And then I had some cilantro lime rice. I've shared that many times. The recipe will be listed out down below. We had cilantro, pico, lettuce, cheese, a couple different salsas, and some guacamole. And here are our assembled bowls. We had some chips on the side as well. I will say, if you are not a fan of spice and heat, do not do the chipotles and adobo sauce. It was very spicy, but like it kind of balanced it out with like the white rice and the salsa and the guacamole. So it was all about balance, but it was really, really good. Thursday night is when the kids were with Andy's grandmother, so we had the whole day, evening, night to ourselves. So we went out to dinner for our anniversary. We went to Pappadeaux, and I forgot to get a picture of our appetizer. We had the fried alligator, which was delicious. Love some alligator. And then for dinner, I had the jumbo shrimp brochette, and it was delicious. It was like stuffed with jalapeno and cheese and then wrapped in bacon. It was like a jalapeno popper, so I had that with dirty rice. And then Andy had the Atlantic salmon Alexander, which was like a blackened piece of salmon with some scallops and shrimp and crawfish and like this sauce over it with some dirty rice. And he said that was really good. He said the salmon was probably like the best salmon he has ever had. We both loved our dinners, and yeah, it was really, really good. But that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Let me know if you plan on trying any of these recipes in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and if you plan on trying any of them. And don't forget that smoked sausage recipe was from Mississippi Queen. Go follow her. She has no idea I'm talking about her, but I really do love her TikTok and her recipes, and she just seems like a really good person to follow. So I hope that you guys will follow her. But I will see y'all in the next one.